Yes, that's what we're going to do this time. But we'll try something a little bit different. Zbrush. Ah, that means I'm going to get loads and loads of emails telling me naughty things and what to do. But yeah, as I said in the Mudbox video, it's a very stupid sculptor that can only sculpt in one package. In fact, you never know, I might even do 3D Coat tomorrow just for the hell of it. So, it's the same sort of workflow, but obviously I adjust a little bit to fit the tools in Zbrush. Some things it doesn't do. I've got to be careful what I say here because otherwise I'm going to start World War 3. There's some things I prefer in Mudbox, right? So the things like the rake, although I use it, it doesn't do it for me. You know what I mean? So this is a pretty standard sort of design. The sort of mouth area, I want to try something a little bit different. It's one of those cases where I had a very blurry sort of idea in my head, but that was about it. But I had lots of bits missing, so we'll make it up as we go along. So you see, it's the same thing as I did before. Try and nail the design with sort of brows and cheekbones. I've kept this in real time again because it is worth it, I suppose, now and again, just reminding people that, you know, when I say 45 minutes, I do mean 45 minutes. Although in this case, it's probably about 45 minutes, 46 minutes. A lot of it is down to, as well to knowing anatomy to a decent enough level. So the better you know human anatomy and animal anatomy, the further you can push it, to be honest. This is like a warm down sculpt, because I always like to get, sort of empty my head out before I go, you know, home to see the wife and kids after work. And I'm going to have to stop saying otherwise it's going to drive you all crazy. So, I've done it again, haven't I? It's going to be all the way through. Right. Yes, so the main thing for me is to get that cheekbone and that. And this was just, I want to see whether it would work. Using the damn standard brush. It's a good brush, but there are times I would like the same thing but tighter. As well. Now, if it was a Mudbox, what I'd do is create a vector displacement stamp that knits everything together. So, you can see I'm approaching the eyes a different way. You can do it exactly the same way as I did with that little ogre type doodle that I up this morning. But for some reason, some things like in ZBrush, this seems to feel better. So it's useful, I think, when I'm learning people's solving for them to know both. A lot of people usually come to me for Mudboxes. There's times when you keep thinking, well, actually, you need to know both well, and you need to show somebody something in another package so they understand the package they want to learn. And I know that's very strange, but, you know. So I'm just isolating there, Control and Shift, just get that there, and then I've got to remember where the bloody hell the double-sided thing is. No, it's not under there, Wayne. It's under Display. There it is. Hey, enable double-sided. Right, which means now I can start to pull these in. Now you notice I've got two move brushes. I've got the elastic one and the topology one. It's sort of a feel thing for me. Sometimes the elastic one feels better for some moves, and other times the topology brush feels right for some moves. It's a case of varying your workflow depending on what you're actually doing. So in this case, I just want to make sure that I'm not screwing up what polygons are there. It's not proper loops, you know what I mean? You'd want to retopologize it, but again, it's just a doodle, so I'm not really too bothered. Now, the old thing about the eyes being the window of the soul is, of course, correct. It also means that I've got to nail the eyes, and the rest of it will fall into place. Now, the brows are a bit of a cliche. I'm going to admit that one. The brows are a cliche, and it's one of those things that every sculptor has something that they default to design-wise. You know, out of laziness. That's what it is. It's bloody laziness. It's the fact that I couldn't be asked to pull up some references on the other monitor, because it's the end of the day, and, you know, it's like, these won't warm down sculpts. They're not serious sculpts for that very reason, because usually it's just you just want to sculpt and get your hand either in or empty your head. So in this case, it's just a case of emptying your head enough, And if I take mirroring off, I can get rid of that one, because that one's not, it's not aligned correctly. So I'll just go into the topology thing down here and delete hidden. That means that other eyeball is gone. Turn the head back on and just align this into here. Now, a human eye, it's not, the center of the ball is not, you know, the center of the eye, as it were. The eyeball is sort of slanted downwards. This also is why you get that slope between the upper and lower lid. Now, it's not as pronounced on this sculpt as it was on the last one, the Woodbox one. For those of you that I know are, you know, watching this God knows how many years later, and I have no idea what the previous video was. But yeah. And there will be at some point where I realise that I've actually got everything upside down on this. I do actually sculpt a fair bit when I'm doing something that has to be a likeness. I'll sculpt a lot of it upside down, because it breaks the pattern recognition of the human brain. Because we are programmed to know what an eye looks like and what a face looks like. We know as soon as we pop out of our mothers, right? Which that sort of makes it sound like a cannon, but you know, babies flying out a cannon. But yeah, it's so something just nice to break that pattern recognition and stuff like that, you know. It's still fairly low for a dynamite, so I'm really meshing it, but you know, you can get away with a lot less polygons than this. And at this stage, it's all about strong shapes and shadows and highlights for me. Later on, of course, I can change things around and add the detail if I want to, but again, it's not about detail a lot of the time. It's about the forms and the shapes and everything else. It's the detail. To be honest, at the risk of offending a lot of people, you can teach any monkey to cover something in detail and widdly bits. That does not make you a sculptor. Being a sculptor is not covering your model with 1,000 different meshes so that people go, "Oh, that's cool." It's sometimes, in my opinion anyway, it's being able to take something very simple or something that's very low poly for a sculpt and then still make it look fantastic. And that doesn't happen very often, let's face it. It's the sort of thing that you can get close but no cigar. You know, I've seen people do it, you know, but it's being able to replicate it all the time. Now, at some point in my life, I would like to be able to replicate that every single time I sit down. Because if you get a strong design at a reasonably low poly, like say 1/4 mil or lower, then it's still going to be a good design once you upres it. But if it looks crap, it will still look crap. No amount of covering it in crap and shite is going to make it look any better. Now, I know sometimes people don't like to hear that, but it's the truth. It's very easy to fool people, whether it's on forums or in the industry as a whole, with a load of extraneous detail. And say, "Oh, look at how detailed the sculpt is." That's nothing. It doesn't mean a damn thing. Anybody, as I say, any monkey can cover something in detail. So that's again, as I say, that's my sort of where I stand on it. So feel free to disagree. I'll just completely bloody ignore you because I'm allowed my opinion like everybody else. Now, at one point, I was about to leave this at this stage, sort of like without the nose. But I thought, well, the trouble is, I know that over the years, there's more of my monsters that have not had noses than have had noses. And it's sort of part of my style, but it's also something that it gets annoying because then people think you can't do noses and stuff. So, but this one I want to try something a little bit different, which we'll do later on as well. So you see a lot of this is just masking areas, just so I can work on them. It's the same work closely for, and this is what I meant when I've said plenty of times over the years that you should make sure that your workflow is portable, so that you're not just rolled into one bloody application. It's like, for example, you know, if I had used Zbrush my entire life and had a total inability to use any other sculpting application, that's not really a good idea now, is it? Let's face it. Now, yes, we might say, well, it's got a bigger user base, or blah, 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 blah. and there might be more jobs with it, but you know what? There's always jobs that you need Mudbox for. Or you might need Mari or something like that. You've got to know these applications, whether you like it or not, because neither Autodesk or Pixologic are paying your wages. Simple as that. So we've got sort of the eyes all right, you know what I mean. I'm going to try and just tighten a few things up at this point, because remember, it's just like usual. I haven't thought of anything beyond the very rough version of this in my head. So everything after this is just making it up as I go along. Now some of it is like these things here. You can see I'm trying something out that didn't work, but I do bring something very similar back later. So that's, you know, you never be afraid of screwing up. I purposely put in a bit into these videos what I do whenever I've done them, and leave any mistakes in, any bits where I get it a little bit wrong, because if you're starting out, things like that help you a lot, because it makes you realise that, you know what, I've been doing this a lot of years, and yeah, I still screw up from time to time. That doesn't make me a bad person or a bad artist, it makes me bloody human. Now, I would say be wary of any artist who claims to be perfect 100% of the time, because it means they are a bloody liar. Nobody's perfect. Nobody does fantastic sculpts all the time. We all have off days, the same as 2D artists. They have off days as well. You know, there's times when you can, you know, I'll come at the office and no matter what I do, I can't sculpt for shit just that day for whatever reason. Maybe it's because I've been awake with kids all night, or like at the moment I've got really bad toothache after having tooth pulled out. So I'm not really on my game as much as I normally am. But you know, that's part of being human. It's not about sort of who's the coolest or whatever that. It's like, at the end of the day, if you're doing a job, you're paid to do that job and to do it as well as you can, but also remember you're not a bloody robot. Yeah. But so you can see there, I'm just getting that little sort of corner that you see on, it's actually a human skull as well. Now there, the bottom part is, I'm just picking up looking at the skull here, it's a little bit short, but you know what, it's a creature that can get away with it. Put Bob down. Bob, of course, being my human skull. You've got no idea how much fun it was trying to get that to custom to human skull. I know it's not a real human skull, before I realize it's a cast of one. And you can see I'm adding a bit of shape just to the skull itself, because the last one was a bit boring, let's face it, so I'm trying to just add anything at this stage that just makes it a little bit more interesting. Now, initially I was going to start this off looking more female. You know, I was going to make a female, to be honest, but as I say, I'm not really on my game today. So, and I always find females a little bit harder than males, because I don't do a whole lot of them. Because funny enough, my wife gets a bit jealous, right? And if I start looking at loads of naked women to do sculpts of them, it's just not worth the hassle, basically. So, hopefully, as I start just shaping these cheekbones and things like that, you start to see that, you know what, it starts to look like a thing fairly fast. Part of that is the fact that I've done a lot of stuff you know, in production. You've got to get my rule is right. It's no matter whether you're sculpting or lighting or modelling or animating. In my department, I always said the same thing: get something done first of all, no matter how bad it might be. Always have something to show your supervisor. Now, that means that you've got something to whinge about, right? So it doesn't matter whether it was me being a 3D supervisor or edit the screen scene, you know, as a VFX supervisor. If you give them something to moan about, then you get the feedback. Sometimes people don't know, or a lot of people who aren't what I call heavy creatives, they're not sculptors or painters or something like that, and they know what they want, but they don't know until they see it. So you've got to give them a bit of a hand, and sometimes just do anything, and then they'll tear it to bits. And then you know where you're at. So you can see there, I could use a mask for this, but you know, it's not a lot of point for that bit there. A lot of the end of this video is basically me just dicking around with renders, so it's not actually 45 minutes, it's sort of like whatever the hell it is with a about 10 or 15 minutes of rendering stuff as well. I could probably put a bit more detail on the jaw and things like that, but you know what, it's the end of the bloody day, and before much longer I would go and sort of see my wife and kids, so I really couldn't be bothered. You know, come on, it's easy enough to look a few references up if you really need to. I always say be very careful about using other sculpts as reference, and I'll tell you why. Because imagine it's like a photocopier, right? And the more times you photocopy a photo, the worse it's going to bloody look. Now, if somebody has used some fantastic reference, they've done an amazing sculpt of, say, the human body, and you think, great, that's a great reference. Now, the trouble is then, you're then doing a second generation copy from the reference, because everybody, I don't care who they are, puts a part of themselves into the art. Something different. That's what makes artists and not bloody 3D printing machines, you know what I mean? We need to have that little bit of input, so always be wary, I would say. I'm not saying don't use a really nice sculpt as reference. I'm saying beware that you're then copying somebody else who's copying something. So always check against proper reference as well. Because, you know, there's times I've had to do perfect digital doubles that have never been spotted, you know. And that doesn't mean that's a perfect model. That just means it's good enough that nobody spotted it. Now that might sound like an anachronism, but it's not. It's fairly easy to sort of fool the human eye. And I can see these lines are coming back now, but I'm using this foam soft brush there just to get some nice sort of bits in and shorten them up using different alphas and things like that. I've just realised in this video somewhere there's me on the Skype with the wife that I forgot to switch it off, so I'm going to have to edit this as I'm going along. So if you suddenly hear like my voice jump in an edit, that's the reason why, because I don't really want you reading sort of me and the wife. It's not as anything embarrassing, it's just, you know, the wife would kill us. So a lot of these things are what I call the standard placeholder lines, you know. In an ideal world, if you're doing this properly, you'd be going asymmetrical about it, you know, a little bit before this actually. So I would say bear that in mind. What I put on these videos isn't all of the story, because it would take too long, and you know I haven't got time to put bloody hours and hours of videos up. So I put up what I can when I'm able to. I haven't done these sort of videos, 3D videos, sculpt videos for ages. Let's face it, it's been all Wayne casts and Waynes and double and stuff, you know. So that's not bad. That round of there, you know, I'm happy with that. There's a bit of a lip round the front of the mouth, but we'll shock it rid of that. No, that's nice. So there he is again. And what are we going to do this time? Standard brush. You know, I used to love the standard brush in Zbrush years ago, and the thing is, it went out of fashion. Brushes have fashions, right? And it's all so crazy what they do. Same as certain techniques in sculpting or 3D, they have fashions and everybody uses them for a while. Then somebody comes up with a better one and everybody forgets the other stuff, you know. So, you know, it's something that's worth going back to some of the older techniques, because it means you get something that's a bit different from everybody else. I'm just going to quickly carve that in, just so it creates a nice shadow. Give these a bit of a ridge on them so they catch the shadows and the highlights. You know, I was actually, if I'd left it like this without the nose, I realised afterwards that it sort of, I don't know if I remember years and years ago I did a tutorial for 3D Creative Magazine, and they later put out an ebook and stuff like that. You know, this Birdman thing, which is absolutely atrocious now looking back on it, sort of 10 years later, you know. But this is, I suppose in a way, this is sort of like Birdman 2, you know. It was one of those that it was released that ebook years later, and I wasn't tremendously happy because I wasn't, obviously I came on quite a bit as a sculptor, and I didn't want people thinking that's how good I was. So I asked them very nicely if they'd mind keeping my name off the ebook, which is fine with them. I'm aware they actually did. Although most people, recognise the style and things like that anyway. So there's a moral in that story somewhere. So I'm going to start just calling a few more of these lines in. I normally, sometimes with wrinkles, I'll do them different ways. This is what I call the easy way: carve shit in and then add some volume and weight between them. The other way is you basically paint a mask in for the lines of the wrinkles, and then sort of use a brush and do with a bit of gravity and stuff, on that, and then give it a bit of smoothing and stuff like that, so you can actually pull in a really nice wrinkle like that. But to be honest, that just takes too bloody long to explain in a video, so I thought, after it's been years since I did anything Zbrush, on a video, that it made a bit more sense. Besides, I'm just being massive, because I know there's going to be somebody whinging somewhere about this. Yeah, he's dancing again. Those of you that know, when things start dancing around and headbanging, that usually means that he's dancing to whatever music I'm playing. Putting a couple of sort of wrinkly type things on my neck. Now, I'm not going mad into sharp linesville, because although that can make a sculpt look fantastic, it can also make it so it could never ever look photoreal. When I see something with a lot of very sharp detail, it just reminds me of all the times in projects where you've had a model in a shot and the compositors have had to blur the shit out of it and put loads of depth of field and match the green and the blacks and the whites just to make it match the shot, right? Which is what you do. And at the end of all that, you lose all the detail anyway. So really, detail is like on Sculpt is a bit like the sculpting version of masturbation. You're doing it for people to tell you how clever you are. Really, if it's something that's really done, it really needs to be close up and it requires, then yeah, go nuts with the detail. But a lot of the time, it's not actually needed. Now, the chances are, in most shots, something of this res would easily do. Yeah. Now, this goes a little bit higher at the end of I think it was once the subdivision figure up to 10 million polys or something. But if this was topologized, that would be down to a fraction of that. Remember, if you're using displacement maps as well, that every time you have touched that mesh, it will tessellate the living shit out of it at render time. So there's reasons why there's areas of the mesh I'm not touching a whole lot. So I know that it's going to make rendering, a bit of a pain in the backside. Another thing that also helps with sculpts is it's the whole thing of light and shade, right? Dark and light, light and shade, round and harder, edge sort of areas, things like that. And it's the contrast between these things that we see as a good design. Same as sort of negative space, things like that. Now, if you're just starting out, that may seem to be rather a lot to bear in mind when you're sculpting. I think, Jesus, where am I going to have all the space in my brain to actually come up with ideas? Well, you don't. It's like, I always say, it's like learn to play the guitar. When you learn to play the guitar, at least this is years ago, back in the sort of 70s and 80s when I was learning. If you're playing all the heavy metal 80s stuff, right, you have to learn all the scales and modes and all the different keys and all the arpeggios, and then you sort of got to the point where you forgot it. You've learned it so well that you forgot, and that's what it's like with this. Now, this is where I'm just sort of dicking around with the idea for a nose. I want something a bit different. I didn't want a human nose on this. I want something that sort of looked like a nose, but was a bit different. And it takes a while, I think, for me to pull it in. There was a bit in this where all the move brushes stopped working for whatever bloody reason, not quite sure why. But yes, stuff like that happens. It says suddenly move brush ain't no worky. That was what we're looking at. clear the mask to make sure. No, that one's not working. Is the elastic one working? Oh yeah, he's working. So for whatever reason, just stopped working. You know. But hey, that's, software does things like that. You know what I mean? I'm trying to, I don't want to look too much like it's stuck on. But to be honest, I haven't actually thought this through 100% about where the hell, how it's going to fit in anatomically. This is a case of putting something on that hopefully looks a little bit cool, but doesn't actually, you know, it might not work anatomically. I'll have to go back in and check things. Now at this point, I was getting a little bit concerned because that nose didn't look sort of right. So I've tried a few little basic cheats of mine of adding more fat and form to it, which a lot of the time actually bloody helps. Add a nice deep cavity, you get some shadows around the top. You notice I'm using quite small sort of clear juice brush there, because it gives a different effect. Now, yeah, when I do that, I know fine well it's going to send my render times, if I was going to render this properly, through the roof with, you know, anything outside of RenderMan. But again, it's my balance. I think the way I was thinking is, if it's worth the render hit, and the render hit isn't that bad, then fair enough. But if it's something that's going to be way outside of what the project requires, you know, then fair enough. Right, now, this is the point where I'll start pulling everything into line. Now that, I suppose it thins it out too much, and that wasn't what I wanted. I didn't want it to thin those sort of folds either side down too much, so I'm just quickly going to wiggle that in like that, so everything else stays the same. And then there's a little lump there I'm going to have to get rid of. Isolate cheekbones and just play around with these a bit, because it's all down to shapes. The things that you have to crease times, it's all the stuff that's already there on a human or an animal. You're just playing around with the bloody shapes of it, to be honest. And that's where a lot of the important parts come. I see he's looking alright there. So I'm going to try and just straighten some of these. If I did this again, I'd have these angles much harder edged. A bit more like a beak. That's sort of covered in sort of like a leathery skin or something. Right, and there was one of my little bits where the wife's Skype call popped up, and then later on some other stuff. So now this cheekbone starts really going AWOL at this point, and I'm going to bring it back in, because it suddenly looks like a sort of mantelpiece or a shelf. So I'm trying to pull this in without screwing the eyes up, so of course throw a mask on it, pull everything in, reshape it. And that little curved line helps a lot. I'm a big believer that a lot of sculpting, line-wise, the strength of line, it's all about C's and S's. You know, C and S shapes. And they're the majority of it. Now this is something I want to try pulling my bottom jaw in a bit, make it smaller. And when I did that, I didn't like the result. I kept part of it, which I'll show you in a minute. So I'm going out to perspective mode. Now I'll pull my bottom jaw inwards, and then inwards horizontally, but I just didn't like the way it looked when it was. I don't know, there's something about it I didn't like, so I undid it and kept it with just a bit pulled back, which I like better. If you wonder what all that clicky noise is, me making sure I can see all of the timeline in Camtasia. So yeah. Now at this point, I'm going to go back in and start some of the stuff slightly higher resolution detail. Right? There's not a lot of it on this. A lot of it's the actual forms and things themselves. But yeah, stretching like some a little bit tired. I just realised I'm going to be a bit late back, and anytime now I'm going to have the wife pinging me about 15 minutes before I leave. In fact, I better type a message while I'm talking. So you see, I'm just trying to tighten things up and stuff. Right, as the wife informed. And once I've got all this, just see the same as before. Masking area, invert it, do a bit of sort of wiggly stuff. See, same as it was in Mudbox. See what I mean about portable workflows? Because it's always good, because you never know what's going to happen in the world. You don't know if sort of a year down the line whether, say, I don't know, Oris could go bust, Maxot can go bust, Pixologic go bust, you know, it could be anything. And it's best to make sure that whatever way you sculpt, that it's portable enough that it'll work in, or a variation in any application. Now I want to just take that away from the edges a bit. Invert it. Take it off. I'm not too bothered about being regular. Organic things are very rarely regular. Use more these little wiggly, soft sort of lines and stuff. I don't want these creases to be too harsh. There's probably, as I say, a fair bit more I could have done with the jaw and parts of the head and stuff. But to me, the face is usually one of the most important things. If you nail that, the rest of it will fall into place fairly easily. And usually, if you're working with a director or something, it's the face that they want to get right first. You know, because if you're on with the face, there's a good chance you've already got the basic idea of the body nailed anyway. So the rest of it, you know, it's fairly easy. Now, a lot of this is just messing around with renders now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit a lot of this out, because it's just more the same. It goes on for the next 15 minutes or something, right? And I'll edit it down just so it gets me to the end. Right, that's all that rubbish cut out. So now we've only got about 5 minutes left. And this is the point where I was just messing around, and thought, you know, I suppose I really better pause this. So I thought I'd do a dry run of the masking and just see what it looks like, whether it will be useful or not. I think, yeah, that'll probably work. So, go into Transpose Master when I remember that it's under Subtool Master. It's down my way. Next one down, next one down. Go on, you can do it, you can do it, you'll find it. Yay, you found it. So just go in IT Pose Mesh. It'll do its stuff. Yay, awesome. Right. Now I'm going to first of all just get what I can masked. I'm trying to get rid of the harsh lines and stuff. A lot of it's just using the pressure sensitivity and fade it back in a bit, just so I've got something I can work with. Now I'll just take it out of perspective mode when I'm doing this, just because the visual distortion that you get in Zbrush is sometimes a bit much, you know. Move by the outside. Basically just trying to make it look a bit sort of more interesting. I say normally I would have this would be an asymmetrical sculpt and maybe a bit of an asymmetrical what's its name, sort of facial pose. I can see the back of the head's a lot broader than it would be on a human. This also gives a feeling that the face is smaller. Now it means it would be easy to replicate it in makeup. You know, and the latex mask can still have a human fit inside of it, which is always one of those things that I try to do where I can. Copy it all back in, the other mesh, diddly 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 diddly. There he is. Hey, sorted. Just pull in the right distance. Because if I get too close to camera, for some reason all the shadows went bye-bye. I'm not quite sure what the hell was happening there. And then round her out. Takes a while. There you go. Yeah, awesome. Lovely. Hey. Whatever. So that's basically how we do done. In fact, in a second, we'll cut to the turntable. And there you go, there's another one. That's 2 in 1 day you've got up, so yeah, I've got no idea where I'll put up next time. Might have a couple of days off before I put something else up. We don't know yet. We'll do one last render. It's getting there in the end. There you go.